Charter schools. Massachusetts currently has a cap of 120 of them. Governor Baker would like to raise it. Boston Mayor Marty Walsh says not so fast. Where do you stand?
I would find myself more in agreement with the mayor because I think we should not abandon public schools. I think that, if anything, public schools need more support.
I have a great-grandson. He goes to charter school. Best thing could ever happen.
Do you find yourself sort of siding perhaps with Governor Baker in raising the cap in Massachusetts?
It's more effective for the children to be in charter school because they get the more one-on-one attention.
I'm sort of borderline with it because I'm not sure if it's necessary.
The only thing about the charter schools is that I don't know if there's a big enough track record with them yet to determine, you know, what really is effective and what isn't. There's no easy answer for it, is the real answer.
So it is time for our OTR Political Roundtable this morning, and this week's our analysts are Mary Ann Marsh on the Democratic side and Republican analyst Eric Fernstrom. What do you think about this? What do you think of the governor's chances of getting 12 more charter schools statewide annually?
He gets more charter schools, he doesn't get 12.
Eric, what do you think?
I think he's going to get more because it's a tragedy that so many kids are trapped in underperforming schools.
Martha Coakley, as you know, is our legal analyst who has taken DraftKings as a client. She won't be commenting on fantasy sports games for us, but here's the question. Do we see a throwdown between her and her successor, Attorney General Maura Healey? Eric?
No, I don't think so. I think the state's trying to figure out how they're going to handle this new form of gaming, or at least this new activity that's taking place. And I think you have to think of the state as the biggest bookie in the neighborhood, right? Because through the lottery, they handle billions of dollars in wagers. So this is like a new player coming onto the street and sets up shop. The state's going to go check it out. Now, where it leads, I'm not sure. They could regulate it like they regulate church bingo.
Well, that's what it looks like it's going to happen.
Or they could get involved in it themselves. We haven't had a significant expansion since Keno back in the 1990s, so this may be something you see happen.
Do you see Healey Coakley butting heads on this?
No, I see Healey doing what she's done since she's become Attorney General. She's going to figure out a solution, tackle the problem headlong, and get it fixed. And she's going to work with Governor Baker and everybody else to do that. That's exactly how she's done everything.
Well, as I asked the governor, is it gambling or is it a game of skill? What do you think?
If it walks like gambling, talks like gambling, looks like gambling, I think it's gambling.
It's a game of skill. Oh, that's where I thought you were going to go.
Yeah, it's
Eric, what do you think?
I would say it's gambling, but the law doesn't recognize it as such. The law says it's a game of skill, so my hat's off to the lobbyists for the fantasy sports gaming industry.
But you heard the governor this morning. He says he's not willing to go and tax them in the way that same way that he taxes casinos and slot machines. But should the state decide to tax this industry beyond what it's taxing right now, would this potentially help Baker solve his MBTA problem?
Look, it could, but the fact is the online world moves so fast, given all the investigations, all the development of regulations, everything else everyone's trying to do with this. By the time they get it done, they may have killed the goose that laid the golden egg, so they maybe could buy a train. But if they get on it and fix this soon, yeah, it could be a great revenue stream.
Is Mary Ann right about that?
Well, I think the Commonwealth is still suffering from a little bit of a tax hangover from the Deval Patrick administration, so any source of non-tax revenue is going to be something that they're going to look at first before they decide to raise income or sales tax.
So you're thinking maybe yes?
Possibly.
Sure. And speaking of the tea, they have problems with falling leaves. I mean, what are they going to have in February again? You know, they're going to have problems with snow again. Is it potentially the biggest problem on the governor's plate as he looks ahead immediately?
I don't think anybody could have predicted that service issues at the MBTA would dominate Charlie Baker's first term. I think the first thing you have to do in fixing the plumbing is to flush the pipes. And he's installed new leadership. He's taking responsibility. I think he gets credit for boldness. He could hide behind the independent nature of the board, but he's not doing that.
He had a great exchange with Janet about that very fact, that was then and this is now, essentially, is what he said.
Right. Charlie Baker inherited two big problems, a broken T and a broken DCF. If he fixes either one or both of those, he's basically guaranteed a second term. If he shows huge improvement on either one or both, he's pretty close to that too. Much like Obama inherited from George Bush, two wars we should have never been in the worst economy in our lifetime, Charlie Baker inherited two problems that have been decades in the making, and now he's got to fix them.
Next issue, Hillary Clinton. She got a lot of good news this week. First, Joe Biden announced that he is out. Listen to this.
Unfortunately, I believe we're out of time, the time necessary to mount a winning campaign for the nomination.
So the vice president is not going to run. Clinton is also climbing over Bernie Sanders in New Hampshire, and national polls Is it clear sailing to the nomination for her, Eric?
I wouldn't be spiking the football in the end zone. I'll give you 3 reasons why. Number one, there's an ongoing FBI investigation into her mishandling of classified information that hangs over her like an anvil. Number two, I'm shocked that we're here 6 months into her candidacy still talking about whether or not she can sew up the Democratic nomination. That's a sign of a weak front runner. And third, we've seen enough of these head-to-head polls where she loses against virtually the entire Republican field, including Donald Trump, to be reminded of the fact that independents don't like her and they don't trust her. If she's having trouble playing in front of a friendly audience, it's going to be a much more difficult road for her in the general.
I think Eric's having flashbacks from the Romney juggernaut that took till June to sew up that nomination.
Romney won the nomination.
But the fact that,
she's never won a nomination.
After winning Iowa and then losing it just after New Hampshire, but I digress. The fact here is that Hillary Clinton is probably the nominee of all of this in the end, but Bernie Sanders will be a big challenge in Iowa and New Hampshire. That's a fact. But she's hitting her stride as a candidate now. You've seen it in the last few weeks. If she weren't, Joe Biden be in this race.
Let's quickly look at the Republicans. Ben Carson is now topping Trump in Iowa. Do you see that happening also in New Hampshire, Eric? And raise your hand if you can envision a Trump-Carson ticket in that.
No. An outsider shouldn't choose an outsider to balance a ticket. On the Democratic side, it might make sense for Hillary Clinton to choose Bernie Sanders because we know from polling that Democratic voters prefer socialists to capitalists.
I can't wait till Eric has to vote for Trump because he's the Republican nominee, and Mitt Romney's begging to be out.
Here's the problem with Trump. Here's the problem with Trump. The anti-Trump faction in the party has about 90 days to have one of those establishment, middle-of-the-pack candidates make a strong run to the top.
Not gonna happen.
If they don't, and Trump starts winning primaries in February, it could be wrapped up pretty early for him.
Marianne?
Yeah, Trump's going to be the nominee. Eric's going to try to get his former client, Mitt Romney, to get drafted. He's out there begging people to draft him. It's not going to happen. Donald Trump will be the nominee. We'll see who he picks.
We have to go to commercial, but I wish we could go to the internet at this time when we go to commercial, because that'll be fun. We'll do that.